We know what you're probably thinking. Who is Davide Ancelotti, and why on earth would Rangers go for a 35-year-old with zero experience as a senior head coach? Honestly, we had the exact same reaction when we first heard the news. The rumours started swirling earlier this week, when reports came out that the Real Madrid assistant, yes, the son of the legendary Carlo Ancelotti, is close to sealing a deal to become the next manager of Rangers. According to Marca, he's actually the man 49ers Enterprises have chosen to lead the club forward. Davide himself seems genuinely excited about the opportunity. He's even gone on record saying that Rangers feels like the perfect place for him to kick off his managerial career. So all signs are pointing in one direction. It looks like the Italian is ready to begin a brand new chapter, and possibly with us. That's why we decided to take a step back and dig a little deeper to bust a huge myth about the Italian, explore who he is beyond just being Don Carlo's son, what are his footballing principles, and what could Rangers actually look like under his leadership. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let's dive into the video. Now let's be honest, when some fans hear the name Ancelotti Jr., their first thought is going to be nepotism. And you know what? It's not a crazy reaction. Football is one of those worlds where having the right last name can absolutely open doors. But here's the thing, Davide Ancelotti is well aware of that perception. He's not pretending it doesn't exist. In fact, he's addressed it head on before, saying, "You always have the shadows and doubts that you're there because you're Carlo's son." He followed that up with, "I can only change that by working every day and trying to convince everyone I deserve my job." So he gets it. He knows he's under the microscope, and at the end of the day, only results will shut the critics up. But let's not act like this interest in him came out of nowhere. Just last season, clubs like Everton and Reims were reportedly sniffing around, considering him for head coach roles. That alone tells you something, guys. He's not just riding his dad's coattails. And remember, at Real Madrid, he wasn't just hanging around on the bench. He was actually running the tactics for a team of champions. He's taken charge of training sessions, helped prepare for massive matches, and earned real responsibility. That said, life at the Ibrox will be a whole different test. There's no Carlo beside him this time, no safety net. This is where we find out if he can stand on his own 2 feet. So, for anyone still shouting about Daddy's boy, let's see what happens when the whistle blows. The pitch will tell us everything we need to know. But again, let's be real. There's nothing concrete so far that proves Davide's ready for the top job, right? We haven't said much yet that truly screams potential. Well, here's where his resume starts to speak for itself. Davide didn't land his previous jobs just because of his last name. He's basically grown up on the benches of some of the biggest clubs in Europe. He joined Carlo's staff as a fitness coach at Paris Saint-Germain back in 2012, and once he earned his coaching licenses, he stepped up into full assistant roles. Since then, he's been part of the coaching teams at Bayern Munich, Napoli, Everton, and most recently, Real Madrid. In other words, Davide has spent over a decade learning the game at the highest level, side by side with one of the greatest tacticians of all time, who just so happens to be his dad. And this isn't someone who stumbled into coaching late. He actually came through the youth ranks as a player himself before deciding to shift to life on the sidelines. So no, this isn't an inexperienced rookie. This is a guy who's been helping run elite level training sessions and tactical setups for years. That being said, it's true that he's never been the main man in the dugout. The Rangers' job would be his first step into the spotlight as a head coach. But if anything, he's been building toward this moment. Word is, he even switched agencies recently to start focusing on his own career path, separate from his father. And let's not forget, big clubs have already shown interest. Alongside the Everton and Reims offers last year, there were even reports that he turned down a move to Saudi Arabia because he saw Rangers, especially with the 49ers takeover, as the ideal place to kickstart his own project. So yes, he's still Carlo's son, but he's also a coach with a serious CV, global experience, and now a clear hunger to prove himself on his own terms. So now the big question is, where does all this leave Rangers? How do we know Davide could actually be the right man to guide us into a new era? Well, one thing that stands out is how heavily involved he already is in tactics and training. At Real Madrid, he's not just sitting on the bench as a symbolic assistant. He's been Carlo's right-hand man week in, week out. Multiple reports suggest that Don Carlo gives his son serious responsibility, with Davide playing a major role in shaping Real Madrid's tactical approach, analyzing opponents, and, believe it or not, leading most of the training sessions himself. Put simply, he's the one on the training pitch, pacing the touchline, drilling the players on the game plan, and making sure every single one of them knows their role inside out. La Liga experts have also pointed out that Davide's influence has grown massively from a tactical point of view. He's constantly in conversation with players, giving instructions and adjustments, and his coaching style seems to blend tactical clarity with a deep understanding of physical preparation, a skill that traces back to his early days as a fitness coach. So while he's never worn the head coach badge officially, he's already been functioning like one behind the scenes. And that experience could be exactly what Rangers need right now, a modern coach who understands both the physical side of the game and how to set up a team to compete at the top level. Beyond just tactics, Davide seems to place a big focus on competitive training. Back in his Everton days, he explained that he loves designing drills as mini championships. In every exercise, the players have something to fight for because in his view, training should always have a competitive edge. Training for him is about creating a winning mindset every single day. The goal is to push the team hard in practice so that every player stays sharp, focused, and ready to translate that intensity onto the pitch. All of this lines up with a coach who believes in more than just structure, but also in energy, urgency, and organized aggression. So, based on what we've discussed so far, and looking at how Real Madrid have played in recent years, we can start to imagine what a Davide-led Rangers might look like. Expect a team that's more physical, yes, but also one that plays with fluidity and adaptability. Real Madrid under Carlo and Davide have become a relational team. What does that mean? It means player connections, chemistry, and cohesion come first. You don't always see a rigid formation or a predictable style. Instead, the team adapts. One moment they're building from the back, the next they're going long and hitting on the counter. They'll press high when the moment's right, but also know when to sit deep and shut things down. Sound familiar? It's a flexible, all options on the table approach that Carlo's teams have mastered, and now Davide seems ready to put his own spin on it. If he brings that same blend of sharp training and tactical balance to Rangers, we could be in for something exciting. So what might we actually see on the pitch under Davide Ancelotti? Given his background, a logical guess is a system based around a back four with a fluid, adaptable attack. Most pundits seem to think he'll switch between a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, or even a 4-4-2 diamond, basically whatever suits the players he has available at the time. Now, we're not saying we're going to play like Real Madrid, but based on the profiles they had, let us imagine how we'd line up under Ancelotti Jr. First, we need a balanced goalkeeper, someone who is good with the ball at his feet, but also a great shot stopper. In defense, 2 physical centre-backs are needed, with at least one being capable of playing in a high line. The fullbacks will need to be attacking-minded, so Tavernier will obviously keep his place. The midfield pairing will need one destroyer and another metronome to strike the balance. Up front, 2 fast wingers for us to be deadly in transition, a technical number 10 and a physical forward who can act as an outlet when we need to go long, and also as a box presence when we sustain pressure. It's a style that should actually suit a lot of our current players, especially if a gammon can perform as a proper target man, and the midfield puts in the hard graft. We could be looking at a side that's not only dangerous going forward, but also sharp in transition. Of course, the exact formation Davide settles on will depend on what happens during the summer window, who stays, who goes, and who comes in. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see those familiar back four shapes, mixed with a real focus on high-tempo, possession-based football. All in all, this is a bold move from Rangers. Giving the reins to a first-time manager is always a risk, but in this case, it's a gamble backed by serious coaching pedigree and fresh, modern ideas. With Davide Ancelotti, we might be looking at a coach who brings the structure and standards of a big club environment, but with the hunger and drive of someone ready to prove himself. That mix of experience and youthful energy could be exactly the spark needed to kickstart a new era at Ibrox. Now it's over to you guys. What do you think? Are you excited or a bit skeptical about this appointment? Do you think we'll see a slick 4-3-3 take shape? Or maybe a versatile 4-2-3-1?